This summer I took a trip with my grandmother, my mom, and one of my aunts back to western Indiana where my grandmother was raised. We traveled that day to several cemeteries where we saw the markers of my ancestors. It was simply amazing to be standing over the graves of men and women from my family. We found ourselves standing over the marker of my great-grandparents, Edward and Iva Swadner. Edward was a doctor and a lawyer, and Iva Boatman was his sweet wife. We saw the building in downtown Terre Haute, where on the 12th floor my great-grandfather worked, and we saw the courthouse where he served as an attorney. The Boatmans and Swadners were close families. Although I never knew my great-grandfather, I could tell that he was very proud of his children. He had 3 of them. He had Don, the oldest, and then the twins, Ruth and Robert. Great-great-grandpa Boatman spoke often in this church in New Goshen, Indiana. Pictured here is the Boatman family with Iva standing in the back. Great-great-grandpa Boatman was buried next to his first wife and his second wife. He outlived both of them to be 94 years old. They're buried under one of the large trees in Hill Cemetery. You see, my family was close, and Grandpa Boatman was always around to help care for his grandkids. In this picture's Grandpa Boatman with Iva Swadner and Ruth Swadner holding the cat in the doorway. Grandpa Boatman's first wife was Alma Shue, the daughter of Henry and Irene Shue, pictured here making soap. The Shues were well known in Indiana. They were my great-great-great-grandparents. Here's Irene Shue and Direxa Shue and Parmelia Alden, who married William Hedges, my great-great-great-great-grandparents. Grandma Alden was 85 when she died in 1889. You know, I'll never forget that day I walked the cemetery with my grandmother and I read the tombstones of those who had gone before me. Those whose lives are etched into my mind. They are the reason that I'm here today. They are my family. I'm thankful that I did know my grandparents. Ruth Cheek, born in 1920 on a farm in New Goshen, Indiana, married Robert Marion Cheek of Vigo County, Indiana in 1942. Here's a 1922 photo of Robert with his grandfather, Robert Storm. Robert's parents were George and Opal Cheek. And they moved to southern Illinois with the family, and they're buried in the Christian Chapel Cemetery. Robert and Ruth were married on February 19th, the same day as Robert's parents, 24 years earlier. The Cheek family cemetery is in Vigo County, Indiana, now located behind a private residence. It was more secluded and not as populated by markers as the other cemeteries. Here were mainly Cheek family members going back as far as my great-great-great-grandparents, Samuel and Hannah Cheek. Spending a day with my grandmother reading the tombstones was amazing. God's blessed me with a wonderful family who through the years has grown in number and grown across the country. But I can't forget who I am or where I come from. To me, knowing my family history defines me. I know who I am.